having someone focus on my social media was key to success. Truthfully, one of the keys that I found was having someone run my social media. And it wasn't, oh, we need to post every day. It's
so people watching have a little bit of a history as well. So, me and you, we've been working together for maybe 3.5 years now. It's been a really cool journey. And so people kind of see a whole picture so they can see like the things that we're going to be talking about today. When we first started talking, you're in the very beginnings of the business. And I remember you're talking about maybe this business was only maybe making maybe 500, 1,000-ish a month. And you're figuring out like, where do we start? You were able to scale it to 6 figures in 9 months, which is insane. And after that year, I believe it was a $420,000 a year, with you and your team. And a lot of this, what people think is crazy is a lot of it's happened during the lockdowns, the worst part of the pandemic as well. So from now, so it's been a while since we've talked as well. What are some of things that you've recently accomplished as well?
So recently, I would say in the last 6 months, I was accepted to the world's best wedding photographers. Myself and Christora both were accepted, which is a very hard thing to do. As many of you guys know, that Christora and I run the Capture Crew podcast, and we actually had the CEO and founder of the world's best wedding photographers on our show, and she was explaining what the process was like. And it's not easy, guys. It's not easy to get on something like that. You have to be the best of the best of the best. You have to have an overall good brand. I mean, anyone can do it. I've recommended one person in the WLMA to look into that because I feel like they are ready for something like that. So that was something really cool. I'm one of four or five photographers in the state of New Jersey. For those who know that market, it's very saturated. So it's really cool to have that. I was named top 10 in the world for Wed Awards last season, which was really cool.
Amazing.
It's been a good year so far. I'm really happy what we've accomplished this year. We've built our team up. We've added 4 more photographers to the team, which is really cool. We've added 3 more videographers to the team. We found 2 new video editors. So it's been a very rewarding year, very rewarding season. It is right now the beginning of August. We still have the whole fall to go yet. Half of our season is still to come. We still have half of our weddings to do the rest of the season. So it's 30 some odd weddings in 4 months, which is crazy to think, but that's what we have. I'm enjoying it. I'm tired, but it's the good type of tired where you feel good about it. And you just have to, I've learned to, when I have my days off, take my days off. Don't fill them up with something else unless it's with family or my fiance. It's very much, you have to find your happy medium. And that's what I've been working on, other than getting ready I'm actually getting ready to teach a class at a local TV studio. Marley, my fiance Marley, she is the business, she's like the business coordinator and the TV production head manager over at her company. And they want to start like an academy for that industry. And so they asked me to put together a curriculum. It's a 12-week program that we're going to be running. It's a fast track to successful wedding photographers and photographers in general. It's learning every bit of technical aspects you need to know to be successful in the world of wedding photography.
Awesome.
And it's going to be super fun. It's going to run from September to December. And that'll be a nice, a million other things I have to worry about, but that'll be something fun to look forward to every week. I told her, though, Jordan, I said that here's the deal. If you want me to teach, you have to write all the curriculum. So she's in the process of writing it all, and I'll just go in, I'll review it the week before, and then teach it. And I'll probably bring in some special guests and other people to help teach these classes because it'll be super fun and super interactive, and hopefully people learn from it. So, that's really what I've been up to. I'm, just been living life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's so hard to really turn off in general as a business owner as well, because I think especially when people dive into this, whether it's wedding photography or whatever business they're running, and they realize all the different projects that they're running, all the goals that they have that they're trying to meet up to while having all these other projects catch up, you realize you get into a place, and it's something I've been working on as well, is just being able to, like you said, when I do take my breaks, really taking a break. And sometimes that's when you come up with even better ideas and when your mind is able to relax in
Right.
that
Well,
way.
that's my problem, is that I thought about 3 other things. You know, something I'm noticing that's current with the industry right now is wedding photographers are trying to learn, or in the process of learning, how to properly shoot flat lay details.
Yeah.
And that's something I learned from a former student. Her name is Rachel Gordon. She taught me a lot, and then Josh Harrison and Rachel L. also taught me a lot about flat lay photography. And, you know, there's definitely the right way to do it. You know, I see a lot of photographers where they miss it by a mile and they miss it by, you know, an inch. So we're in the process of writing a guide and writing a class on flat lay photography, what you need. I've taught my whole team
That's
how
awesome.
to properly shoot flat lays, and 4 of them have incorporated that into their brands, which is pretty cool to think, you know. So, yeah, it's just that when you calm your mind down and you're driving in the car for a couple hours on the way to a wedding, you think of all the millions of things you could possibly doing with your life, and you tend to act upon some of them. You know, it's all good stuff. Always good stuff.
So people get a feel, because I know a lot of people listening will be people who are really in the beginning stages of even getting into the wedding photography or filmmaking industry. So tell me a little bit about your story. How did you get into, you know, photographing weddings in the first place, and maybe a little bit on how you got to where you are
that's a
today.
great one. So it's kind of a long story, and I'll try to keep it as short as possible. So when I'm all my whole life, I've always had a fascination with cameras. I never really kind of put 2 and 2 together. I always thought like, oh, I was just into the cameras, and I was, you know, when I grew up in the 90s and in the mid 2000s, and it was very much, you know, the digital age was starting to come around. So, you know, in the 90s it was a lot of film, and then, you know, turned the corner in Y2K, and then we started developing into digital. So, you know, mid 2000s we had the first point and shoot camera, right? The first camera I ever picked up was Nikon Coolpix. It was this big. It was about this big. And it was a camera that I thought I was, you know, hot stuff to use. And I was very fascinated by photographing fish in a fish tank, or photographing the most random thing. Like I remember taking photos one time in my bedroom, and I put a camera underneath a lampshade, took a picture of a light bulb. And I thought it was cool. So, you know, over years I started to acquire the taste for it, and I started liking it. I went to college for music at Montclair State University, and I just bought a camera. My grandmother, I was 19 at the time. My grandmother bought me my first camera, and I remember the day that I went to New York City to B&H Photo Video, because I went to school close to the city, so I was able to get there by train. And I remember dropping $720 on a lens. At the time, it was the version 1 of the 24 to 70 f4. I'm sorry, 24 to 105 f4 by Canon. It was their L series lens, and I had at the time, I think I had a T3i at that time. And my parents wanted to kill me because I had dropped $700 on a camera lens, and they were like, "Why are you doing this?" I said, "Because I want to, because I felt like this is what I was meant to do." So years later, a year or so later, I bought a 6D Mark I. I skipped over the middleman. I didn't know what I was doing, so I just, "Hey, Mom, Dad, this is what I want for my birthday." So $1,800 later, this is what they bought me. It was like a birthday Christmas type of deal. Okay, so then I buy that camera, and it was years and years of convincing my parents this is what I want to do with my life. Then I moved to a 5D Mark III, and I just started doing a lot of, you know, random shoots. So I would do headshots, I would do events. I was very heavily involved on campus at Montclair State. I was the campus photographer. Everyone knew who I was. I did all the big events for the SGA, did all the big events for the yearbook. You know, I was on stage with whatever artists that came in for that season's spring events. I was on stage for their glow party, which was really cool to photograph. So I did all these big events, and I said, wow, I'm really good at this. Like, this is something I could see myself doing. Although I had no clue what I was doing, I knew I wanted to do it. So flash forward a few years, I graduate, I go on and I do, you know, a bunch of jobs. I got a job with Life Touch 6 months out of college. I figured I need something to do. Let's do that, because I didn't want to teach music. I dropped my music education cert, graduated with just a music degree, and I sold my instruments and moved on in life. And so did that, quit that job, joined another production company doing dance photos, took that job for a season. Okay, dropped that job. Worked for the Real, which is a luxury consignment company, which a lot of people probably now know of. I was one of their photographers for a year. I worked my way through the ranks not through the ranks, but I worked my way up one level, and I became a photographer for them, and I shot product photography for a year. And then I shot my first wedding it was actually my senior year of college. I was 2015. I shot a friend's wedding. They were going to hire another photographer, but I did their engagement photos. To this day, Jordan, I don't know where the heck I did them. I don't know what park I was at. I didn't know where I was. And they said, listen, we want to give you the business. It was both their second marriages. So I was like, this is cool. So actually, no, it was her second, his first. Anyways, did the wedding. Was very confused on why certain things weren't working, but I did it and I moved on. And then, it was the fall of 2018. A friend of mine from college, actually from high school, he went to school at Rutgers and I went to Montclair. He reached out to me. He's like, hey man, hope all is well. I know it's been a while, but I do weddings and I'm looking for a photographer. Would you be down to team up? And I was like, sure. I was like, I never shot a wedding full time, but sure. Why the heck not? So I went out there. The first wedding I ever shot with him was a 2-day Hindu wedding. Anyone who's ever shot a Hindu wedding knows that they're very, very long and very, very hard. So that was a nice throw to the pack of wolves type of deal. And then I shot a few more, and I was sitting in the cafeteria of the job I was at the time of the Reel, and a friend of mine had said, "What are you still doing here?" And I said, "Well, I need the job." They said, "That's bullshit. You get out there and make the money." So I did just that. I called my parents. I said, listen, I'm quitting my job in 2 weeks, and I'm starting my own business. They're like, okay. I was like, just give me 6 months. And then if in 6 months I don't have business running, I will then go look for a part-time job and then still build the business. And then that's when I fell into WLMA. And when I say fell into, I mean I joined the course. I joined the course in spring of 2019. And yeah, I've been here ever since. I really, it just kind of, it just happened. It's one of those things in life where, people say, oh, my dad was a photographer. My grandfather was a photographer. My grandmother, my aunt, like I was destined for this. Nobody in my family was a photographer. Or if they were, they didn't do it professionally like I do or full time. And so, it just happened. And, through learning and networking and trial and error and learning your craft and truthful, like you said earlier, the pandemic really, really helped. Being locked down for that many months, we were able to jump on a Zoom call for 8 to 10 hours a day. I mean, I do truly miss that. I miss talking to people every day. It was like a virtual office. Jordan would come in sometimes, or Crystal would come in sometimes. It would be the same 8, 9 people. All right, guys, it's 5 o'clock. We're sending off. We'll see you tomorrow at 8. Here's the link. Everyone join. And it was a great, it's a great community, and it was a lot of fun. And I've made my lifelong friends through this program. And so
that's so cool.
By doing that, learning the craft and just figuring out what was wrong and what I needed to fix and improving on. And then eventually, last season really started coming around and we started shooting a full season's worth of weddings. And then now, we are, 8 months into the season, and, I am at this moment, today's date is August 4th, 2022. I am $75,000 away to making 7 figures in my business. So yeah, so so this is on record now. There's the date. This is the date and time. But yeah, I'm about 75 grand away, and I'm itching to get there. But it will come. And guys, it's not something that's going to change overnight. It's just not. It's just not something you're going to be able to turn around and say, I'm going to make 7 figures, because 6 figures is hard enough. Try doing it to 7, and it's taken me 3.5 years since I started working with the WLMA. So that's pretty much where I'm at.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And one thing I really love is when you joined, it was honestly like the very, very baby phase of the WLMA as well. We maybe had like a couple, maybe 100, 200 students at that time. Things were really fresh. We didn't even have really the community. And I remember, you were one of the few people who would really consistently schedule those coaching calls back when it was like really even me doing it and everything. I was like, all right, this guy's like really excited. He's really passionate. He's asking good questions, and he's actually really consistently doing everything that's like being taught. And then the results showed from that. And I love talking about that and your story and everything, because it shows the power of just that consistency and drive, and how important that is as well.
Sorry, I'm looking. So I somewhere around here in my office, I still have the notebook that I had taken. I'm trying to find it, and if I happen to find it during the rest of the show, I'll pull it out. But yeah, you just
Keep that. Let's say 10 years down the road, it'd be cool to pull that up again.
I love
that.
The thing,
I love
guys,
that.
You just have to want it. You have to want.
Yeah.
You have to just want it. It's not a magic pill. This business is not a magic pill, and I've had friends who've inquired with me and have went other directions because of the price point, and that's fine. But then I see their wedding photos, and I'm like, okay, so you inquired with me, you raved about me and my work, and then I see who you hired, whoever it was, and it's not nearly as good. Yeah. And that's just how the industry is. It's how every industry is. You have your sour apples and you have your sweet fruits. It's just a matter of, how can you tell the difference? Do you know enough to tell the difference? And are you honest enough as a photographer to be honest about telling the difference between the good and the bad and the ugly? Yes,
100%, 100%. Now, I want to dive into a lot of the questions I know that people have never heard of us at all, to know like the key strategies that helped you get to like certain points. So especially when it came to getting to your first 6 figures within that like 9-month period, what were some of the key strategies that you were using, kind of in a nutshell, on that got you from pretty much from scratch to 6 figures in 9 months?
There was a lot, honestly. I mean, this is going back to almost 2 years now. I would probably say just staying consistent. Consistency was key to just gaining consistency and gaining the trust. A lot, and it wasn't working on me, but it was also improving my craft. A lot of photographers will always wonder why. Why am I not booking a wedding? Why am I not doing this? Woe is me, woe is me, woe is me. Okay, great. Woe is you. Whoop-de-doodle-dee. But for me, it was doing a self-evaluation. What was wrong with my business, and how can I improve this aspect of the business? And I think a lot of it, my personality, I felt was fine. I was able to connect with couples and gain their trust easily, but I felt like my work quality wasn't as good as it could have been. And so when people start seeing pretty things, they want those pretty things. It's called shiny object syndrome. I used that terminology with my sister-in-law the other day, and she's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, it's called shiny object syndrome." I said, someone sees something they want, they're going to grab it, and then they're going to do something with it for a little while, and then they're going to put it away. That's exactly what a lot of photographers do. They have shiny object syndrome. So I put shiny object syndrome behind me, and I worked on the photos. I worked on the composition. I worked on the technical skills. I worked on, how to present myself. How can I change this to better it? Can I change the script here to close more sales? And eventually it starts to become second nature. It just becomes something that, ideally you just comes to you easily. And I had people review us and put us on Facebook, and you don't know, as a photographer, you don't know what's going on with your clients and if they're posting good or bad about you unless they leave you a review. And so throughout that year, this was 2020, I was booking out for the 21 season, and throughout that year, I just stuck to what I knew, and I knew that what was working at the time, I didn't have to really fix anything. I just wanted to improve it all. So, flash forward, it was January of 2020. It was 2020, I think. When is it 2020 when I hit the 6 figures, or was it 21? Neither do I, honestly.
I don't remember the year.
Honestly, I don't. I think it...
I just know, general timelines.
Whenever this was,
kind of the order.
I just started doing. It was a rinse and repeat effect. It's the rinse and repeat effect. And when you get clients that like you and they want your work, and you're able to work with them. I was able to work with them as far as their budget goes, as far as what they wanted. And, I look back now and I say, man, I wish I didn't do that, because now it's more work for me, or I'm shelling out more money. But at the end of the day, shelling out that $20 for a USB to order from wherever you order them from turns into $20,000 easily, because if they refer you to 3 clients for selling your prices at $5,000 a piece, it's 15 to 20 grand right there, depending on what else they purchase from you. So, Yeah, I just think for me in that
Yeah.
9-month span, it was just rinse and repeat, do what I knew, learn from everybody else, and just look to improve. And that 6 figures came no problem. And then it was the feat of the 420,000 that really threw me for a loop. But we'll talk about that in a second.
Exactly. And so kind of reviewing that a little bit. So number one, especially so you can get those like higher end clients, make those sales much easier. A lot of it was knowing where your work was at and really improving in those areas in the brand. What changed, especially when it came to maybe business or marketing strategies the most? Was it more with also how maybe you got your leads, how you did your sales, how you nurtured leads, or was it kind of all of that all together? What do you feel like impacted
that's
the
actually
most
a really good
during
question.
that year?
I think that, so for me in the beginning, it was all about the nurturing process, right? I literally took what you guys taught and verbatimly repeated it to myself over and over and over again. So for me, it was nurture and work with and try to get people in the door and running the ads and everything that the course teaches, I did. And then over time, it started to evolve into Instagram. Instagram is where the heavy load came from, right? So everyone says, oh, well, what if Instagram crashes? Well, I definitely, at this point in my career, I have the word of mouth enough to say, hey, you know what, guys, Instagram's gone. Here's our new platform. Follow us, yada, yada, whatever the next social media phase is. Right now, it's TikTok. It could be Zubaru, whoever, I'm just throwing a name out there, right? So it could be Zumafu, it could be, sunset.com, whatever it's going to be, right? And so you have to adapt, right? And so I adapted and I switched over to Instagram, and I suck at writing, period. At the time when I started, when I was, working my way through the course and working my way to building the 6 figures and the business it is today, I didn't have any help. I did it all myself. The first person I hired was Shannon. She was my social media coordinator, and now we've passed the baton to Steph, who's now my social media manager. And she helped me grow. Having someone focus on my social media was key to success. Truthfully, one of the keys that I found was having someone run my social media. And it wasn't, oh, we need to post every day. It's, hey, I need consistently stuff going on Instagram, tagging things. I found that like during the end of 2020, I noticed that I was getting busy and my social media lacked, and that's where a lot of my leads were coming from, was my Instagram. And so hiring someone to do that, that's what ended up helping boost it. So, I mean, the marketing strategy was to just, stay consistent and just keep work flowing out. Show people that you're busy, show people that you're working, show people that you can do a lot of different things. You can do all the bridal expos you want. You can do all of the bridal shows you want. You can do all of the billboard. You can run every ad you possibly want. I told people when I used to do coaching calls, I said, I don't give a shit if you run an ad. I could care less. You want to run an ad, but it's not going to be successful, period. So, I made sure that it was successful in doing so with the ads, and eventually it just caught on. It's exactly what it did. It's just caught on, and once it catches, guys, the word of mouth spreads like wildfire.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm kind of grabbing things in a nutshell for whoever is taking notes. So especially in the beginning, it started off with like ads, building momentum, nurturing those leads through a funnel. And then especially where things really started to spike is when you brought a lot of that attention to your Instagram. And that's where a lot of the magic started happening. You're able to nurture a lot of the brides there. You brought on a social media manager who could really up-level that game for you. And through there, you're able to really build a really strong word of mouth as well. And what was key to getting ads for you to work in the beginning as well? What did it have to do with like the photos? Did it have to do with the copy, or just up-leveling your
running
work?
ads in the
what was the key
aspect of the business?
there?
Is that what you're saying? Yeah, good question. So it's definitely
in the beginning
with the
stages.
For those have known me for a while, and I've had a few people reach out, and I apologize now if you have reached out and I haven't sent it your way. I developed a spreadsheet. And in my spreadsheet, I tracked everything for 6 months straight, and a lot of it had to do with the photo that I chose. And I truthfully don't think that there is one right answer to that question. I think it's subjective because it depends on your area, it depends on your brand, and correct. It depends on who you want to work with, the type of client you work with, and what's key is having a clear brand position. A lot of photographers don't. They do not have a clear brand position. You correct.
And that's when the ad doesn't work.
It just doesn't work. Your business doesn't work. You know, I've met with hundreds of photographers over my last 5 years, and a lot of them don't have a consistent brand position. And when you bring that to their attention, they question you. They say, okay, what makes you so credible to say I don't have a brand position? Because I can come on your website. I don't know if you know your ass from your head, A, and B, I don't know what you do, period. I don't know if you're a wedding photographer. I don't know if you are a plant photographer. I don't know if you shoot astronomy. I don't know if you do lifestyle. I don't know what you do. And so it's not just about, you know, having the same, you know, preset or having your work look consistent. It's about being niched. I didn't know what that word meant when I joined WLMA, and when I even got into the business, I was like, what does the word niche mean? And niche means specific. In my head, niche means specificity. You specify in what you do. So by doing that, you are able to have success. And so, you know, it's not just about posting on Instagram. It's not just about, you know, posting whatever you want. It's about the aesthetic of what you post. You know, I'm very specific in what goes on the Instagram and what goes on the Facebook and how we publicize our work and what even photo placement even on the website, right? A lot of photographers will post the best of their best work, and that's great. That's exactly what you should do, but you should also have a lot of variety in your work. You know, you should be posting a lot of different things and showcasing a lot of what you can do. Don't post the one photo you just got lucky on capturing because you just got the settings right off the bat, but posting stuff that shows consistency in your work. I mean, it's subjective, Jordan. I really think. I think for the ads, it's subjective. The copy is subjective. There is no one right way to do it, but there's definitely guidelines you should follow. You know, following specific guidelines,
100%.
doing tests. You know, I know that Aiden goes into split testing because he did it with me, and it truly does help. But it's definitely subjective to who you are, what you do, what your brand is, your market, and then just overall the style of imagery that you produce.
100%. How did you find that brand and niche for you? What did that journey look like? How did you find out like the words and style and like who that ideal client looked like?
I think it was a trial and error process for me. I knew what I wanted. I knew I wanted more of a bold and colorful type of imagery. I knew that, you know, when I figured out a preset, I knew that when I say preset, for those who don't know what a preset is, and it's pretty hard to believe that there's some people out there who don't know what it is. Preset is your foundation to your editing. If you are in Lightroom and you are custom color correcting, unless you've gone to school for that and learned DaVinci, you don't know how to custom color correct unless you just have a natural talent for it. So hey, some people do. So presets are your baseline to your edits. Every photographer uses a set of presets. For those who want to know, I use Soulmates Small Wild. That's my preset. I use Soulmates. The brand is small and the preset is the Wild. So that's what I use, and I've tweaked it here and there to get to what I want to be. But you know, you just, I don't know. I just feel like you figure it out. You go from one to the next to the next to the next until you find something that's consistent. Until people start, I guess you can say, until people start classifying your work. Let's put it that way. So one of the questions, correct. So one of the questions I ask in my presentation to our clients on our client calls is, what about my work speaks to you, and what are you excited about? Why are you excited about working with us, and what about our work speaks to you? Those are two questions I ask within that consultation. And the second question always tells me the answer of, well, we like X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. Okay, or I'll get well, your work is timeless, and it's classic, and it's not mainstream. It's not trending. And so when you hear those words, that makes you think, okay, well, clearly there's a consistency in my work, so that's good. And B, it's something that's going to be lasting 35 to 40 years from now. You know, in 40 years from now, when wedding photography is whatever it is at that point, your work will still be relevant to what is on today. You know, this light and airy, this dark and moody, and variations of such will eventually phase out. It will eventually phase out, and the natural true color to life is what will stick, because that's what we see with our natural eye. You know, you see color the way that color is supposed to be. Thus the reason why we edit the way we do. And so you just kind of figure out what the best avenue you want to go. And honestly, too, I think another good point, I've given this to some photographers, is researching what photographers you like as far as their editing style goes. Researching and who you want to emulate. I think a lot of people miss that mark, and they don't necessarily do that research. They just kind of try it, and that's fine. You want to spend the money. I worked with a student who's actually a very good friend of mine, Yaya. I worked with her. She's based in Texas, and I worked with her for a little while. She did some one-on-ones with me a while back, and I said, listen, go emulate what photographers you like. Okay, so the next week she came back, she did that, and she found presets that work. And guess what? She's killing it. Because all she had to do, she missed the mark by a little bit. That was what I'm saying. Some people missed the mark by an inch. She missed it by an inch and was just changing your preset. Another student, Jesse Ayers, he's a very good friend of both of ours. He was the same boat. He was kind of like, I don't know what to do, but what presets do you use? We were away in Arizona last year. And I said, this is what I use. And I gave them to him. And boom. I told him, I said, dude, your work has skyrocketed. He goes, thanks to you because you gave me those presets.
Love that. Love that. Two things I wanted to point out. One thing I love that you said is that you listened to the market. And that is one of the greatest research tools ever. When you ask the prospects or clients what it is, why they chose you, or what is it that why they're choosing you. And the words that they use is key data right there. And secondly, thank God for presets.
But that's so true, because there are so many photographers out there who say, well, I'm natural. Bullshit. You ain't natural. You just don't know what the hell you're doing. Let's be honest here. Guys, there is so much there's only so much you can get by with in life, right? And in this industry, if you want to make it in a short amount of time, you have to be really, really good, because technology's getting better. It's becoming easy. People are getting better. It's easier for people to get into the photography industry, because let's be honest, these cameras can do anything you want them to. That you just got to know how to use them. And if you don't escalate your craft, if you don't consistently get better, and you don't develop a brand over time, you're gonna fall behind the wagon. I'm telling you, you're gonna fall off the wagon, and they're gonna leave you in the dust, and you're gonna have to pick up all the pieces and walk. Truthfully, you're going to have to. And walking is a lot slower than moving on a wagon. So you just adapt to the time. Yeah. I think that's another key thing. People don't want to adapt. I know people, I've been doing this since 2008. Okay, great. That's awesome. Correct.
People take too much pride in moving the things and the colors the way they do. Because I remember for me, beginning of my journey as a photographer, I used to do that as well. I didn't even know what presets were, honestly, at that time, 10 years ago as well. And everything looked different. Every photo I had looked different. It was horrible.
I won't touch them.
I can't even look at those old photos anymore. And then and then I jumped into Visco, but it was a little too trendy. Visco was too trendy. It was too hard. And that's when I ended up finding Mastin Labs. And I love the look of real film. And I was able to slightly change things according to what I like. And it's a timeless look.
Because nowadays
it's going
people
to be there
back
forever.
Film,
you know what I mean?
I call it the circle of life of photography, right? At least in the wedding industry. So, right now we're in the height of the digital age. It's mirrorless. Right now everybody's moving to mirrorless. Oh, I got to move to mirrorless. And I look at people and I say, why aren't you on the mirrorless train? Because that's exactly where the industry is. Another thing too, it also bugs me a lot, is when people are behind the train of technology. A lot of people make the excuse, oh, financially I can't afford it. But yet I'm doing this full time. So where is your money going? Where are you putting your money? Are you putting your money in the right areas? My equipment, my team, my staff, my fiance, even she's got top of the line equipment because she does a lot of video work. So, she does a lot of photo work now too. I got her top of the line stuff. Yeah. You have to have the best equipment to create the best product, period. I mean, sure. Can you create a great image with a T3i and an 18-55? Anybody can. But if you want, the camera does half the work, you do the other half of the work, right? So that's part of it. Yeah, it's just, you're right. Presets are super important. I don't think people know enough to use them, or don't research enough to say, this is what I like, or they'll pick everybody. Messy boot, messy hair and dirty boot, whatever, dirty boots and messy hair, whatever that preset company is. It's one way or the other, right? But Mastin Labs is great. Yeah. Soulmate is great. Develop is another great website to use. There's a lot of photographers on there. And G Presets is another great one I've used before. I use, from my other company, I use Janelle Elise. She's a photographer. I use her presets from G Presets. So there's definitely, they're similar in some ways, but they're different in other ways. So I'm able to get some contrasting colors with those presets, so I could have my brands be different.
Love that. Love that. Now, really important question for people who maybe are like at that six figures and they're trying to scale things further as well. What were the key strategies that help you get from, six figures to $420,000 a year? What were the biggest key strategies or things that happened within that time period?
Be consistent and be trustworthy. Period. I gave a presentation a few years ago at the WLMA meetup, and it was about client relation and client process. And three things I say are communication, trust, and commitment.
Yeah.
Right? Communication, trust, and commitment. Those are three key things that I've figured out over the years, and then my core values, that I have in my life. And you to get to that 420,000 in a year is amazing. It's a huge thing to accomplish in such a short amount of time with the lack of people that I had. When I started doing that, I didn't have associates. I didn't have, social media as much. I didn't have a team. I didn't have editors. I was doing everything myself. So when you are able to outsource everything, you are able to then turn around and focus more on what you want to. Like right now, I'm focusing heavily on the sales portion and then the quality control and the management of the staff, right? So what I've done last year to this year, some reason, it's weird, I didn't make as much in sales. So like if I compared last year to this year at this very time, I didn't make as much in sales as I did this time last year, but I've booked more weddings, which is weird. I don't understand how that worked, but I think I don't know. Don't ask me, guys. I don't trust me. Maybe my math is wrong, but that's what it is at the moment. So for me, it was consistency in who I was, right? I was from the sales call to the engagement photos to the wedding to post-production. I was the same type of person. And then, then my work quality just kept getting better. My client experience kept getting better. And I was able to just kind of work it where I was able to bring them in easily. So instead of doing an album viewing, I actually do a presentation. So it's a presentation about what we offer, and you spin it in a way that, as Jordan has mentioned before, is you don't use the stinky car salesman analogy. Don't be the stinky car salesman. Be the truthful, honest business owner. And when we talk about tell me what they're looking for in a photographer. So it's an experience, right? So I title it as an experience versus a business. That's number one. Number two, I ask them a few questions on top of getting kind of saying, okay, guys, nice to meet you both. Congratulations. Tell me your story, how you met, and that all important proposal story. Let them speak, right? Allow them to tell you more about themselves. And then you say, okay, guys, that's great. Super excited. You kind of drive the train or drive the truck into the lane you want them to be in, right? So he said, welcome to the TRP experience. Dun, 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 here we go. So then we go through and I do that exact thing. Dun, 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 here we go. I literally do that every single conversation. It gets a little giggle out of them. It gets them relaxed, gets them kind of in the mood, right? Then we go into the question of, what are you looking for in a photographer? Tell me the ideal things in the person you're looking to shoot the wedding. Don't say me. Say, we're looking for XYZ things. So they go through that. And then I say, okay, we're going to move on. So then we go through and we talk about the process a little bit. Like, what is it like working with us and the rest of the team? We go through all that, explain to them step by step in a way what they can expect from us pre-signing a contract, right? And then we go into the mentioning who the team is. We introduce the artist, we introduce the team. We'll go into associate stuff in a bit. And then from there, we go into explaining how the process works. It's not, this is bride prep, this is groom prep. It's, hey, this is what we're going to do as far as coverage goes, amount of photographers you're going to get, what you get with your package, an album, yada, yada. Then from there, we go into asking them about video, if they're interested in video. So we talk, if it's yes, we talk about video. And then we ask them if they're interested in having a day of coordinator, because we've actually not adapted, but we've have a partnership with a wedding coordinator here in the New York area. So we work with her a lot. So we try to push her business with our clients. We just tend to introduce them to what that is. And then from there, we move on to asking about those two questions I mentioned earlier. So those two things. And then from there, we just let it sit. Just let them talk. Let them think it over. Let them say, okay, blah, blah, blah. And then you're saying, this is what our post-production process is like. We talk about the contract, all the stuff. And then we say, okay, guys, any other questions? Usually the answer is no. Or if they do, it's stuff that they didn't catch while you were talking. So you repeat it. And then that's it. You end the call. And by doing that, guys, process consistency one after another, that's when the business starts to become, and you start booking more. If you can book 6 to 8 weddings a month, you're doing it right. Right now, we're booking about 8 weddings a month, which is pretty good in my opinion. We're getting a lot of leads. We're getting about and averaging about 15 to 20 a month. We had some months were in the 30s, some months were in the teens, some months were in the, the 20s, but it averages about 20 a month. And out of those 20, we meet with, let's say, 10, and out of those 10, we book 4 or 5, which is a pretty good. I'm happy with that. I wish it was more, but I'm happy with that considering the market that I'm in. So circling back to what we talked about earlier, I wanted to get into that a little bit more to kind of explain our process. Circling back to that, though, it's just staying consistent. And by doing that exact process for us, I've been able to gain the trust pretty easily. And so when I give them the price, they know it's worth it. Because right now we're marketing about 53 to 75, and actually upwards of 95 to 10,000 with our photo video packaging. So we're anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000. That's kind of where we're at. So that's a lot of money for someone to spend. And a couple of days ago, we were able to close an $11,000 deal with photo and video, which for our market and our business and our brand, that's not something we would commonly close, because couples don't always want to, especially right now with what's going on in the economy. They're not looking to spend that much money, but hey, some couples are. So consistency, trustworthiness, and commitment are the 3 key factors to answer that question.
Yeah, and one thing I want to break down there as well is, so especially when it came from 6 figures to getting into deep 6 figures, not much change as far as the strategies. You just stayed consistent with that, optimized it as you went on, as you learned, and then especially when it came to sales and the more word of mouth that was coming through, optimizing that sales presentation so you get as much conversions as you can. Love that. And simplicity is key when you really think of it, because it's so easy as you grow to.
And something about simplicity too that I learned over the years is that it's simplicity in a way, right? So it's keeping it simple on the consultation. I used to go into the in-depth, this is what we're going to do, and you're this person. Like you start to realize what you don't need to talk about on the initial consultation. I actually did a strategy session with Christora and Rachel last year in Chicago, and we had talked about what we each of us do, and Christora, Rachel, and I all did consultations at that retreat we had put together for ourselves, and we all listened to each other and we all gave feedback to each other, which I think was really cool to have that process. And they're like, well, listen, omit this, but add this, and don't worry about this, but make sure you emphasize that. And as time goes on, it starts to evolve. And when it evolves, you have to adapt to the evolution. I think a lot of people are stuck in this way of doing things, especially the older photographers that have been around for so long. They're stuck in what they do, and they've resulted in running a studio, and as we do family and we do all this. That's all great, guys. But wedding photography is
business has evolved so much.
Entity. You really can't do other genres or market other genres unless it's maternity and or occasional family, or maybe family. But I've done a few maternity shoots that I address. Listen, this is going to be a couple shoot. You just happen to have a belly. It's really,
boudoir as well. I've seen people
honestly, Jordan, the only photographer I know that's good and really good in boudoir and weddings is Charlene Manford. She's one of the only people that I know is really, really talented in both those avenues, because she has the space, she has the brand, she has 2 brands, Honey Bacon Boudoir and Charlene Man Photography. So she's got both, and then she's able to successfully run 2 brands.
100%. Now, diving into this a little bit as well. So, you've recently been booking very high-end weddings. $11,000 package recently. Congrats on that. That's freaking amazing. What are some of your best pieces of advice for someone desiring to jump to those, $5,000 to $10,000
I kind of mentioned this a little earlier.
Points?
A little bit. So I think it's just getting really good. You have to be honestly, you have to be really good. I'm sorry, but I know photographers that are charging $4,000. I wouldn't pay them $100. I won't. I'm getting married next year, and everyone's like, "Who's going to be your photographer?" We have picked our photographer. I'm actually shooting her wedding in December, and I wanted somebody, and actually Marley wanted someone that was a female. She wanted a woman with her, which I think is great, and I didn't really care. I just wanted someone good, and so. We picked my friend Jordan, who is a full-time wedding photographer. Her and I, we are like this. We're very good friends. We travel together. We shoot together. We hang out. And we both run businesses, and we bounce ideas off each other. I'm going to leave it at that. We bounce ideas off each other. And that's a way to get really, really good, right? So you just have to be good. You have to have a consistent brand, a trustworthy brand, and you have to be good. When I say good, you have to have all your ducks in a row. I've talked about this a lot. All your ducks have to be in a row, and they all have to be yellow. They can't have the gray ugly duckling, because that gray ugly duckling will bring your business down. You ever hear that saying where you're only as good as your weakest link? That's what I'm talking about. So if your editing sucks, fix it. If your shooting sucks, fix it. If your sales strategy sucks, fix it. Seek help and fix it. I know tons of photographers in the WLMA. When I used to, work with you guys more full time, doing those coaching calls, I know I would see people twice and that's it, because I gave them stuff they actually had to work on to become successul. And then when they realize it's more work than they think, they tend to shy away from it because they don't want to deal with it all. And I totally understand that. We have a business, we have a family, we have all this stuff, and that's great. But if you want it, you'll grab it. But remember, you have to be really good and make your work worth that price point.
Yeah, the industry, it's more competitive than ever before. And so a lot of people sometimes on the coaching calls that I'll be with students, let's say, I see them as like there's low, middle, and high tier kind of as far as quality of photography. And sometimes these people, their portfolio is not big enough. Things aren't very consistent. And they'll be talking to me about like, how can we get to those $10,000 weddings? And I'm like, things aren't there yet. Let's start at 2,500. You need to build that portfolio. You need to elevate that brand. Then we can possibly talk about that. And I think one of the greatest skills, you do it in your presentations, and what we kind of talk about in the sales for wedding consultations as well, is being able to communicate in a way so they can connect what they truly desire and figure out what it is they truly desire to your work. And that I've found has been huge. Just being able to communicate, ask the right questions in a way where they can
able to
say,
they can see
this is what I
themselves
want,
in your work.
they have what I want.
Period, right? So every photographer has their ideal client. At least they should. Right. And they know who their ideal client is. And to me, it's not your appearance. It's who you are on the inside. My family originates from New York, from Brooklyn, New York. And I've had plenty of clients who reside in that region, and I connect best with. They're Italian, they're from New York, that's my people. I said, you're my people, and we rock it. That is some of the best weddings I've ever shot, was those types of people, because they're down to do whatever the hell I want. And I really hate saying that because it's their wedding day, but when I'm able to have the creative space, I'm able to absolutely run it over. And then when I don't have that creative space because of the timeline, then I feel like something's missing. And I'm like, oh, this wedding could have been so much better if XYZ happened. So there's just so much that I think this industry with people lack. And I wish that I can help everybody, but you just can't. You just got to do your own thing. And I think that there's a way to do it. And you just have to figure it out. So,
yeah, it's a different journey for everyone. It comes especially to one, figuring out how to get better in their craft and figuring out that style as well. And then that journey can, it's almost like chipping on a sculpture. It's not quite there yet, and you're chipping away. The vision of what that's going to look like is going to look a little bit different than what you thought it was going to look like.
And when I was going to say, just started, really quick,
etc.
Going off of that.
Oh yeah, what were you about to say?
The ad thing. That is your end reward. You run an ad, it's successful, you get your leads, you book your weddings. That's your end reward. 2 pieces of advice with this course, guys. Stay with it and stay in it. You have to finish it. And I should 3, finish it, right? Stay in it, stay with it, finish it. So, don't skip over things. I know that's Jordan and Crystal's motto is don't skip over things when it comes to this course, because truthfully, that will help you. This, from the time I started in the beta version, when there was I think it was less, Jordan, I think it was 50, 60 students, to now, there's so much has evolved, and there's a lot of things that you guys have incorporated. And even I go back, and I know Aiden's like, dude, go read the course. It's in there. I'm like, oh, great. And I go back and I read it. And I learn it. And so I think people just look for the easy way out. And guys, you can run an ad all you want, but if you don't know what you're doing, and your ad may look good, but your website looks like shit, and your Instagram looks like shit, and everything else looks like shit, then your ad isn't going to do as well. You're not I ran an ad, I just ran an ad last month. Budget was $750. That's how much I spent on the ad. I had 60 some odd people enter, which I think is great considering how things have changed over the last couple of years. And I picked, I think, 12 winners, and five of them actually went through with the consultation, which is, for me, I'm okay with that, right? It's a real, for now, it is pretty good. So
that's awesome.
That's really good compared to someone that gets not as many leads, and there's a lot of things that they don't realize. And hey, that's okay, but just try to do a self-evaluation. It'll really help.
Yeah. Really, it's going to be different for everyone, really optimizing, and you really have to take a bird's eye view and see and really view things as like a machine, as a funnel, see where the leaks are. Whatever strategies you're using, see where those leaks are and test.
Test in more,
so you can kind of figure out how to plug that leak.
Test in your craft, in your ads, and in your client experience. Get feedback from your clients. Get reviews and see what reviews are consistent and where you lack. And ask them, say, give me an honest feedback. What can I improve on? What did you like? What didn't you like? And where can I improve? And it doesn't have to be a posted review, but ask them in an email. Say, hey, I would love a review from you. And it's funny, Chris Dorr and I talk about this too. I know when a client's going to give a bad review. Is this bad to say? But I don't ask them for a review because I know it's going to be bad because we just didn't work well together. So don't do what I did. But it's okay if you get a bad review, and that's an episode that we talked about on the Capture Crew. It's back in season 1 was getting a bad review. It might have even been season 2, and getting a bad review and how you deal with a bad review, and that's something for another day. But stuff that happens.
Yeah. So some watching may be interested in. One, hiring associate photographers and filmmakers to scale, and fill up more weddings that way. What are some key tips you have for those wanting to build an associate team?
That's really good. And
how much do you pay them? What's that hiring process or workflows look like?
Let's talk about, how do you build an associate team? Okay, so the hiring process, right? Put a job posting out there, get your applications. You have to know enough what you're looking for. You have to know what's good and what's bad. And that comes with your own business first. So start with a number and say, okay, I'm going to look to hire 5 people. Okay, so I have 5 people plus myself is 6. Great. So you hire those 5 people. Okay, so step 1 is hire the people. And actually, let's even backtrack a little more. So let's go back even a little further. So before the hiring process, develop guidelines.
Yeah.
How do you shoot? How do you want your business to be represented? Right. The conduct. How do people going to conduct themselves, right? The way that they shoot specifically, because a lot of photographers will shoot differently than what you want because it's how they do it. And we are very much about natural light and using window light and using our light to our advantage and understanding how light works. And so giving guidelines and examples of how things should be shot versus how they shouldn't be shot so that your work stays consistent with your brand. And then once you have all that developed, then start hiring people. So that when you hire them and you accept them onto your team, they already have those guidelines. And I did it backwards, and that's fine. You live and you learn. But I did it backwards. So I'm saying don't do it the way I did it. Do it the way I'm telling you. Yeah. Once you hire them, then you start developing a package. So you say, okay, you can, and this even can start doing this pre-hiring these people. So come up with a package. Okay, so our associate package is $4,200. Or between 42 and 48. That's kind of where we're sitting as far as associates go. So how much do they make? How much do you want to make versus how much they make? And make it worth their while so they want to stay. So we pay a flat rate of $1,400 for the main shooter and $600 for the second shooter.
Yeah.
The main shooter is responsible for meeting with them twice to plan engagement photos and to plan and work on the timeline for the wedding, be their point of contact, and then they have to shoot the engagement photos. They send over the images. We do all the editing, and they have to main shoot the wedding. So they send the images and we work on the back end stuff and all the post production. Yeah. That's how much they get paid. Second photographers, they just do less, so they get less paid. They get $200 for the engagement photos, plus if they're traveling really far, and then the $1,200 for the wedding. It's about $120 per hour. They average about 10 hours or so. So that's your $1,200. And then from there, you come up with a workflow. So the part of the workflow is talking and separating the two on the initial consultation with the client. So when a inquiry comes in and I know I'm not available to shoot, I say, hey guys, I need a photographer for September 17th, 2023. Who's available? And for me, it's usually a first come, first served basis. If you say you're available, I'm going to probably go to you first. And it's also depending on the client and the talent level of the photographer. So if the wedding is smaller, I tend to give a chance for our not as talented photographers as some others. And if it's a bigger wedding that I trust more, like I have Nick and Andrea and Marley, who are my 3 top associate shooters, who I tend to give more of the higher end weddings to because they're a little more advanced than some of my other shooters. And then from there you start to realize, okay, these like I have one shooter who only takes like a few weddings a year, which is fine. And then you have some other photographers who will take a lot more than others. So you tend to gravitate towards the ones that will take more because they're willing to shoot more for your business and they actually care for your brand. And then from there, you start developing a process. This is how you're going to send your images. This is when you're going to get paid. You have to get on payroll, and you start building it over the time, and then you start realizing, okay, we're getting a lot more weddings that involve associates, and now you're starting to hire more.
Yeah.
So then you hire 2 or 3 more photographers. Now you're at a team of 9. So we have 9 photographers, and then I hired my best friend since college is my head of video. I actually got him into the industry and the photography, which was really cool. And then he switched over to video. So he manages the video team. So we have about 8 or 10 videographers that shoot for us and other companies. And then you start developing editors. So there's more associates, and then you end up having a full team. And you're able to bring on more weddings, and we've triple booked a date. We've officially done 3 weddings in one day. We've closed out that date. Woohoo! That's most my goal. I'd like to get a couple more. September's really busy for us next year, and so you need your lead shooters and you need your second photographers, and that's how I've designated both. And in my presentation, I say this is our lead photographers. These are our second photographers. This is who you can expect to shoot your wedding. This is who's available. And then you start talking them up and showcasing them on your social media, and then the rest is history. Take your note, guys. Go
That's
back
all gold. That's all gold.
Please rewind.
Right, hope people are listening.
Go back. Take your note. Yeah, pause it. Take your notes because there is a lot and I'm still working on it. I reached out to Rachel Eller, and I have both have successful associate programs. And even Christora reaches out to me. She goes, "Hey, this is my predicament. What do you do?" And just don't tell them something you don't know what to do. Tell them something that's worked for you and see if it works for them. And just talk about it too. I know. It is. It's absolutely super important. There's a photographer in New Jersey who I very much look up to. His name is Mike Zawadsky. Very talented. He has a very successful business, shoots about 100 weddings a year, and he has a full team of 10 photographers. And I said, hey, man, I'd love to pick your brain. How do you do this? What do you do? And he gave me some pointers, and you just figure it out. Just like I figured out how to build the business, you figure out how to build an associate business. And then you can develop a second brand like I have. We have Russo Associates, which is our parent, our sister company to TRP. And we have developed, it's a very, very, very slow process to building this brand, but it's more of a stepping stone for photographers to gain their own work and build their own business. So that's what Russo Associates does, and lower price point. And that's something else we get into another time. But you just do it, man. You just got to want it, do it, and eventually it clicks.
Yeah. Good. So now, no matter how good whatever business strategies you're using, scaling a business is a lot of work and a struggle. What would you say were some of the biggest mental obstacles you had to overcome, and how did you overcome that?
It says, people will pay for your work. You have to accept the fact that you are a bigger, successful person. Don't have some sympathy, but don't have enough sympathy where you actually end up jeopardizing your success with your business. So charge higher prices, charge more, build an associate brand, become very well known, and just stay consistent. Scaling a business is not something I'm too knowledgeable on. I just know that I've done it, and I'm actually starting to try to work with some other people in my business and working on strategies for scaling a business. It's something that I want to do, and there's definitely mental roadblocks. You have to be okay with trusting people and letting go and delegation, and if you delegate, I have a head of video, I have a photography editor, I have 2 video editors, I have a social media manager, and she also does my emails. So that's 4 people that I can trust. And I say, hey, you've gained my trust. I see you're doing well. And now you're able to scale your business and take on 100 weddings a year and take on 200 weddings a year if you really want to. I think that's where I'm at right now with that. I think that there's definitely more I can learn and I want to learn with it. But it's definitely mental obstacles of just being okay with it. You have to be okay and you have to gain trust. You don't have to gain their trust. They have to gain your trust. You have to be willing to trust them and give second chances where needed. Sure.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Now, this is a question I ask everyone. Let's say, for some odd reason, you had to move from New Jersey. Let's say you had to move to Florida.
Right.
No fan base, no network, no word of mouth, no connections whatsoever. Just your website, portfolio,
what I did in New
your
Jersey.
current knowledge. What would you do to scale to six figures as
go
fast
back
as
to
you
my
could?
basics, relearn the course, and go back to what I know and do exactly what I did here. It's plain and simple. Rewind. Just start over.
So rewind if you guys don't remember.
Decided to move really far away out of your market.
As far as that.
Start over. It's okay. It's going to take you just as long, if not a little shorter, to do it. But, connect with photographers that you know of in that region and, start working with venues and connecting with people and connecting with photographers, and then start posting that you shot at XYZ venues, and then people start tagging those venues and seeing your work at those venues, and then it starts to build up again. And it's going to build up faster because you have a solid portfolio, but go back to your basics and start from square one.
Perfect. Now, what's one piece of advice you would give wedding photographers and filmmakers
That's a really
who
good
are
question.
really struggling with their business right now?
I would just say stay consistent with what you're doing and see if it's working. And if you're struggling, sit back, stop booking weddings, stop shooting, and go back to what you know. And even say what you know, but doing a self-evaluation. Say to yourself, and doing a business eval too. What am I not doing? You ask for feedback. Just say, okay, what am I not doing? Yeah, what am I not doing? But what can I do better? Is it my talent? Is it my craft? Is it my imagery? Is it my sales? Is it what I'm charging? Am I charging too much? Am I charging just enough? Am I not charging enough where people are kind of like, this seems fishy, let's go somewhere else? And I said that to my video team too. I said, guys, our videos are not reflecting in our price point, and we need something. And that's where we hired 2 editors that really give us the quality work we're looking for. So I would just say, stay with the process, work with it, evolve it, scale it, and learn from it. And also do evaluations and see where you need help. Yeah, awareness. That's self-awareness. So you guys can find us at www.tomrussophotography.com and russoassociates.co. Those are our 2 websites. Instagram and Facebook are at Tom Russo Photography alongside Pinterest and TikTok. We're on all those platforms, and Russo Associates is on Instagram as well and on Facebook, but we'd happy to connect with you guys if you have any questions. Check us out also on our podcast at The Capture Crew. I've also been on the Newbie podcast alongside with WLMA Weddings and Wine podcast alongside Boca podcast. So I have a lot of knowledge to lend. Please reach out, shoot me a message, shoot me a text, and I'll be happy to jump on a call and help you out if I can. Awesome. This was amazing, man. Thank you so much.